No, you're not seeing things, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for round number 2 today here on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. And joining us here to speak all things related to the Black Flag Army, the Alliance Wrestling League. And you just saw the latest episode of the AWL. And of course, the Black Flag Army continues to reign supreme. We're also going to talk about their premium live show, their first one today, coming up, Gold Rush on March, which is just a short month away from now, and even talk about some different wrestlers that have recently been mentioned on Sportswire Radio, and one of them that even just retired and announced his retirement here on Sportswire Radio. Our guest is going to speak about all of that and some. He's going to put his own flair and twist on it. He's always been one of our favorites here on Sportswire Radio these past 6 months, and he's the only one that we've had on that's a war criminal. He's going to talk about that here because he's definitely an original and some. Our guest needs no further introduction because he hasn't been on here on Sportswire Radio in more than 3 months, and we love our Alliance Wrestling, and we don't want the Black Flag Army to be on their bad side because we've seen what they've done on AWL TV. We want to make sure we give him that introduction that he has gotten, especially his mate in the AWL, most recently, the new division champion, ADT, has gotten. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right to it. So, with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show from the Black Flag Army, the Alliance Wrestling League, and the most dominant stable right now in this sport, pound for pound, where all wrestling matters. His name is the World Criminal, Dylan Andrews. My friend, long time no speak, and how are you?
I'm doing good. Every single time I hear that entrance, it sounds like it gets longer.
You know, it's funny
wild.
You said that. Like, to break the fourth wall, we had Rage on, who's in Resurrection Wrestling, and he said, you know, I've been watching you a while, and I didn't realize how long it was when I was watching it. And then we did one yesterday for Sean Jovi, who's the WC Interstate Openweight Champion, IMF, and I literally did his speech for the Hall of Fame, and it was over 10 minutes. Yeah, you know, it's funny. When I think I had you on the first time, it was like a minute, maybe a minute and 20 seconds.
Something like that, yeah.
And now it's like over 3 minutes in, and I could probably go longer than that. And it's funny, from even when I first started, I went back and listened to one of my podcasts I did. This was almost 4 years ago, and it was like I was in monotone, and I said, all I said was number one. Now I do them, and it's almost like a whole like celebration. It's almost like people, I think, just listen to like the 2-3 minutes, like, okay, Tom's on, good enough. So yeah, I'm gonna try and top what I did for the first 3 minutes, but I thank everybody that's tuned in here. I see people are coming in. So, Dylan Andrews, it has been a while. You're gonna help my voice rest a little bit because I want to talk to you about all things related to the Alliance Wrestling League. And obviously, congratulations to the company and all the success. We're closing in on 350 subscribers. We had another great show that just took place. And for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, the Black Flag Army, it seems like nobody is going to stop them. And we saw another example of this once again earlier. And tell us why you guys, in your own words, have continued to be the most dominant faction pound for pound in this sport.
I'll lay it down in the words of good old Ricky Bobby. We wake up in the morning and we piss excellence. Bottom line. We are 3 world eaters that have come together to form the most dominant stable in backyard wrestling.
I agree.
No one can stop us. No one in Alliance can stop us. No one in ROEW. No one. If they want to try, they can take a trip.
You said ROEW. I'm going to get to ROEW. There's definitely a lot to talk about there because certainly one person that was in ROEW that was giving you guys maybe some quote-unquote problems actually announced his retirement. Maybe that was best for business from his standpoint. I'm going to certainly come to that. But in the AWL, we've seen an influx of new wrestlers. We've seen
Yes,
an
we have.
influx of pro wrestlers even. I think it speaks to the volume of the company, that this is a company that really has come a long way in the fact that we've got a ring coming, we've got pro wrestlers here, but yet you guys, despite all of these new things, all of these things, I suppose that Hillbilly Tilly has tried to put in your guys' way. I mean, ADT's got the new division championship. Your brother's got the world championship, and you're kind of, I would think,
I got my beer. I got my beer, Tom.
You got your beer, and we're not even talking about what's the future of the war criminal Dylan Andrews, because you guys, it's almost like you're sitting there. It's almost like if you ever watched the Simpsons episode where Dredrick Tatum was fighting Homer Simpson, and Dredrick Tatum was kind of waiting there, almost like waiting for Homer to get back up. That's kind of like you right now, when we may see you whenever, and I'm sure you'll talk about in the AWL, because when you come and sit there, you pack a punch, I guarantee you, not only is nobody getting up, they're going to have to carry that person out on a stretcher.
Absolutely. I've said it from day one. I don't care about gold. I don't care about accolades. When I show up to fight. Bottom line. I don't
war criminal. We said that
exactly
the first time you came on, I think 6 months ago.
Exactly. I don't care about the accolades. I pick a target and I go after that target and I destroy that target. Bottom line. And that's kind of been the whole goal of Black Flag Army. We pick and choose our targets and we destroy our targets. Now, there have been accolades to come through along the way, and that's good for ADT. That's good for AJ. Love them both. They both do a great job of what they do, and they're both really good champions. But it's not something that I care about. That's not what I look at.
When you say those things, it's interesting because we have a lot of people come on the platform. As you know, I mean, you're not a dummy. You see these things and people talk about them through the grapevine. Everybody says, I want to be a world champion. I want to be this. I want to do it for the fame. I want to do it for the money. But you're saying, you know what? You're content with almost watching your brother be the world champion. ADT was practically like a brother being the new division champion. So what would be something that you would want, though? Is it just, let's say, drink Miller Lights and kick some butt? Or what do you want to do? In your words, the war criminal Dylan Andrews.
I just enjoy fighting and I enjoy drinking. Bottom line. No, I don't try to focus on the materialistic style, or not style, but materials. I don't care about hardware. I care about what people think of me whenever they see my name, whenever they see my face. I want them to be afraid of me and run in the opposite direction. Stay the hell out of my way. And there's been some people in a four-letter show that don't understand that they need to stay out of the way. Not just of me, but of the entirety of Black Flag Army.
Now, you said 4 letters, right? So I know you'll speak about somebody else with 3 letters outside of the state of Alabama, kind of next to you guys, which I'm sure you'll have a bone to pick with. We'll come back to that.
I get a bone to pick with anybody and everybody.
Well, you're in the right place, because in Sportswire, I just want to let you know, I don't know how much you've been following, but I basically did like my own CM Punk pipe bomb version on like half the British independent wrestlers. And like half of them thought I was like a god, and the other half want to basically like hang my neck and basically have it on a silver pipe. Now, our friend Jules, who's here, our beautiful friend Jules, would probably love to see kind of my neck kind of hanging like on like chestnuts on a rope, open fire. But I certainly, you're in the right place when it comes to that. But okay, so you talk about these 4 letters, and I think you're coming back to what I had mentioned called ROEW. Now, ROEW is
those ugly letters all put together.
From the state of Michigan. Now, not quite in the South, but more in the North. And they've had some kind of, how can I put it, roster changes of late. Let's talk about one of them that gave you guys a little bit of problem before I come back to somebody that everybody knows in the backyard. In fact, even the pro wrestling world knows these days. I'll come back to him and maybe even a family member of ADT's in a few minutes, but Jason Storm is the wild card, but that's the elephant in the room that you were kind of alluding to. And Jason Storm was here in your chair actually just about 2 weeks ago, and he kind of threw maybe not so much of a bombshell for those that are listening and watching you on Sportswire Radio, that he announced his retirement because basically he had wrestled an I Quit match with C Money, who was also the brother of the current ROEW champion, the good guy CJ Black, and they don't get along, by the way, just so people know.
Yeah.
And C Money defeated Jason Storm, and Jason Storm, to his word, actually said on air live that he's retired from in-ring competition and he's left ROEW. Now, I have to get your comments first because you're the first person from really ROEW and the AWL to have a statement on that. So what do you think about Jason Storm and his retirement? Do you think it's a real retirement? And what do you want to say on that?
If it is a real retirement, good riddance to that little pest. Oh, man. Oh, no, I got nothing good to say about Jason. I hope he does stay gone because if he ever tries to come back in any kind of capacity, that is the very first target from ROEW that we are going to. Bottom line, yeah, he got the upper hand against ADT when we traveled to Detroit, Michigan.
Yep.
He got the upper hand. It was a dirty upper hand. But he got the.
I watched the match. Yeah, I mean, It was basically like underhanded tactics, and he kind of cheated.
Yeah, exactly.
And got a victory. Yeah,
he's a no good, dirty cheater.
And when he was here, by the way, he would not apologize for that.
No,
there was a lot of things he apologized for. He apologized for what he did to Jacob Collins. He apologized for trying to sue everybody. But the now former in-ring competitor, Jason Storm, multi-time world champion, most notably the ROEW world champion, he did not apologize for what he did to you guys. So that's got to make you mad, certainly, for sure, the war criminal Dylan Andrews.
Yeah, no, he's a dirty competitor. And again, I hope it's a real retirement. I hope he stays away because if he doesn't, he's going to get hurt worse than just his pride when he lost to C Money.
Well, you know what? I want to, you're going to probably partially agree with something, which is I'm going to come back to him in a few minutes and I'm going to say hello to people. I see people starting to come in. I'll say hi to you in a second. If you're here for the first time, these are the links you want to follow the Alliance Wrestling League on and Dylan Andrews for. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of wrestling. For now, you hear my voice. Hopefully my voice hangs on for the interview.
My name is Dylan Andrews. I'm the voice of War Crimes.
Yes, it was a good one, by the way. That was a good one, by the way. You could take over my chair. I wouldn't argue with that. But all kidding aside, Jack Delta was on a podcast, not on mine, because actually he came on Sportswire before what happened with Jason Storm. And he was actually quoted in saying that while he wished Jason Storm well, he was skeptical that he was actually going to retire. And when you hear a statement like that from a Jack Delta, I know Jack Delta, you guys have some issues with him, and we're going to come back to him. But when you hear something like that, does that tell you, you know what? Storm, you know what? Maybe he's running from something. CJ Black even pushed him to the side and basically kind of used him. And, certainly we saw what happened with C Money and, everything else. And do you kind of agree with that in a way that if Jack Delta, who's certainly no one's going to disagree with, at least from the outside, what Jack Delta would say. Is that fair, you think, then, for even a Jack Delta, an ROEW regular now, to kind of be skeptical about Jason Storm and his retirement?
So I'll say this. If anybody knows anything about fake retirements, it's going to be Jack Delta.
I was trying to avoid that.
That man retires every 3 months, and he backs out of major matches every 4 months.
I want to put it out there. This is actually not my opinion because we love Delta on Sportswire, but Dylan Andrews, you're welcome to say that. I just want to put it this so I don't get pinned on this. I want to make sure that this is actually one pipe bomb. I'm actually not putting out there because we do love Jack, but you could absolutely say it. You're welcome to say anything. I just want to make sure it's not me who said that.
Oh, absolutely. No. This is all me. I take full credit for what I'm speaking into this microphone on this radio show right now. No, if anybody knows anything about false retirements, it's going to be Jack Delta. If Delta thinks that Storm's going to come back, which I say is a big mistake on Storm's part, then I'll take Jack's word for it. I don't know Jack Delta to be a liar.
I just had Jack on here.
I think he's a certain 5-letter P word, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay, but let me ask you a follow. Okay, here's where I'm gonna actually bring in first of all our general manager here, Hillbilly Tilly. I know you're gonna have a lot to say on him also, but Mr. Storm can't compete, as far as I know, in ROEW, right? And if, let's say, the time were to come that Mr. Storm would say, you know what? Yeah, maybe I do want to come back. Maybe I do want to return to the ring. That's up to him and his God. That's up to him and his God if
Yep.
he really does want to return. I'll take his word for it. He announced it here. He's done. But you know what? Listen, I can never say never because he's still a young man. And if he wants to come back, I'm not going to deny him his opportunity. But let me ask you, though, this. Let's say, though, that Mr. Storm would want to return back to the ring. Do you think that Hillbilly Tilly should hire him to work in the AWL so you guys could basically take what's left of him and basically, I don't know, kind of devour him almost in a way that maybe he'll be kind of like if you thought what CJ Black did to him after he lost to C Money, you guys will probably eat him literally to where he's down to just skin and bone.
Here's my comments on it.
Okay.
I think if Jason Storm was to become a regular on Alliance Wrestling League, he would be more geared towards your Hacksaw Brown and
Tyson
your
Gates.
Tyson Gates. That he'd be a mid card. He would not be a main event. The only reason he's a main event in ROEW right now is because ROEW has a total of 5 people.
Well, I wasn't gonna make that basically point.
No,
but
hey,
but to
it's
be
all
fair,
me. It's
no,
all
no, no,
it's
no, no.
all me.
I'm gonna say this. I think they have a great product, but there are people that think, well, they have what, 4 wrestlers now? Is it 3, 4? I mean, so
Yeah, I mean,
you guys have a
with
big
the retirement
roster.
of Storm and Jacob Collins breaking his leg doing a simple jump, uh, yeah, you're definitely limiting yourself. I think at one point they had a total of 6. They got.
I had JX Jackson Law was there
Yeah,
for a bit. They had C Money. They've had
B Money,
C
T
Money.
Bang.
Jack Delta's back. I mean, so you have less than 8. I think I made the point it was 8. I mean, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean 6 is pretty fair. I mean,
yeah. I think when we traveled, I think it was a total of 6 people. Um, at
so are
one
you
time.
saying that the company should fold and be a part of AWL? Is that what you're saying? Are
That's
you
not what
saying
I'm
okay?
not. I'm not saying that. ROEW management can do whatever they want. Um, I don't think that their product outshadows Alliance's product. I think the Alliance Wrestling League, especially for what we are, we're in a backyard on a blue mat, and we're getting 1,000 views in 4 days.
I know
No,
ADT. We had
no,
ADT right after that, and he talked
yeah,
about the fact that everybody spoke about the Delta CJ Black match, but the facts are that AWL actually gets more views and the subs.
we
You guys, your
we
subs have gone
outshine
up. Yep.
we outshine what we really are because again we are a company that wrestles on a blue mat in a backyard, not in a wrestling ring. How long has REW had that wrestling ring
Over a year. Over
for
a year.
yeah, over a year,
Over a year.
and it's taken them 2-3 months to get 1,000 views on one show, where it takes us 4 days to get 1,000 views.
Well, let me ask you a follow up on that. Do you guys? I don't know how you want to answer this. You can answer it any way you want, but do you
I always
feel
do.
like? Oh, that's why I have you here. Listen, don't be shy. I know you won't be, but do you feel like that? Whether it's the Black Flag Army or even anybody else in AWL, do you think there's a chip on your guy's shoulder in the fact that what? Hey, we're out here and we're getting thousands of views. Hey, we're getting hundreds of views, and you know what? Companies, it could be any, it could be ROEW, it could be XCW, it could be when CBW is active, it could be EBW Pro in the Mid Atlantic, it could be any other company that's been out there and maybe gets talked about in sports. But obviously, we obviously covered you guys. You guys are back in the rotation. ADT is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think
Right.
that's going to put a lot of eyeballs onto the company. But do you guys feel like that there's a chip on your guys' shoulder, or maybe even a lack of respect because you guys are actually subs are up, views are up. You guys got pro wrestlers. You guys are
Yeah.
going to a ring, and what do you think on that?
So we have local competition, not just not just on the internet, not on YouTube. we have local competition. We have local indie promotions that we have to compete with to get our superstars, our wrestlers, and and so yeah, we have a chip on our shoulder. We want to make this the best show to ever be created, and I feel like that we're doing that. ADT feels like we're doing that.
I think
AJ
you guys
Morgan
are
feels.
too. Listen, I always say no. Alliance Wrestling League. I've always said this is a company that has the ability that people should go check them out, and that's why I want people to check them out. But let's go into the way with ROEW. Let's go
Okay,
focus on them, and then I'll come to comp in a different way.
okay.
Let's focus on them. Do you think that maybe ROEW is benefited because they have the one shiny piece in Jack Delta, and that maybe that's why you guys in this feud, they've gotten more attention maybe than you guys have because they have the shiny object that everybody in this sport and in the yard knows?
So they not only do they have Jack Delta, who is a personality, they also have a ring. They had a real gold championship before we did. Um, and even before all that, we were still getting more views than what they do on a regular basis. And we are the fastest growing backyard wrestling company. Uh, God, I don't even know. I'm not too familiar with the history of backyard wrestling, so pardon me. But
Everybody's got different histories on it. It's okay.
yeah,
I know there's different people out there and they have different things. We have a company coming on in 2 weeks, and these actually started in 1999. So I mean, just
oh wow,
everybody's got different. Yeah. So
yeah.
you just don't
So,
know.
but we have grown so fast in the last
3-4 months.
8 months, I think.
Yep.
We've grown so fast, and we still don't have all the shiny trinkets that other backyard wrestling companies like ROEW has. But what we do have, we have people that show up week in, week out, put in the work, and that's a lot more than what other companies can say.
No, there's no
So
question about that.
so
I
the
agree.
ring, the gold championship belt, and definitely Jack Delta, since he travels so much because he just can't be held down to one company. He's not loyal. Um, that all that is going for them. They threw a lot of money into it, and it shows. They do have videos with 1,000 views, and they do have was it 500, 600, 700
Yep.
subscribers, something like that.
500 and change. Yep.
500 some change. So they put some money into it, and they're getting what they're getting. But in my opinion, the product is inferior compared to Alliance Wrestling.
Well, you know what? You should certainly be touting their product of Alliance Wrestling League. And I'd like people to also tout it and go on YouTube at Alliance Wrestling League, Instagram at Alliance Wrestling _League. Also, Dylan Andrews, check him out on Instagram. And I'll come back to that, but also talk about the current events of AWL also in a few minutes.
All right.
Good evening. How you doing? Also, she gave you had the early reference. She liked that about shake and bake, so she appreciates that. Lovely, Jules. Thank you, Jules, for letting us know that you like that. Your brother in the Black Flag Army is here. Is going to be inducted in our Hall of Fame on the 23rd of February. I believe we're on at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, ADT. You can double quote me on that if you'd like, but he lost to the third best wrestler in my family. I'd retire too. He's talking about Jason Storm. Hillbilly Tilly says, I'm currently taking applications for a reference. If Storm needs a job, I'm accepting applications for a referee. So he doesn't even want him on the roster. He only wants him as a referee. That says a lot.
Well, I will say that the one glaring problem in Alliance Wrestling League, and I'm glad Tilly is finally acknowledging this. We have a referee problem.
I wasn't going to say anything because you're a big man.
No, we have a major referee problem, and we need at least one more to really tie the product together. I don't know if you noticed this, but we've had we've
well
we've been having
Morgan. Well, Morgan was the referee in ADT's match in the Open Challenge. I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, you guys have kind of ADT's been a ref in the past. I think you've been a ref in the past. I mean, yeah, I wasn't. I think.
Wait, Tyson Gates. Yeah,
I would say Tyson
Gates was the referee for me.
I think Christopher James was a referee also at one point, if I'm not mistaken.
He's been refereeing multiple times, and just as recent as today, Victor Thorne, which
pro wrestler Victor Thorne. I know Victor Thorne very well.
Pro wrestler Victor Thorne shamelessly attacked ADT and took his spot as special guest referee. So we have a referee problem. We're putting our wrestlers in danger to pull double duty when we have a referee signed on with AWL, and he just doesn't show up. And when he does show up, he's missing counts, he's missing submission holds, and he just doesn't do his job. So yes, we are. Tilly, thank you for
Well,
bringing that
you know
up.
what
We
this
do
reminds
need
me
a
this
referee.
this reminds me of, and this is going way back in the time machine. I remember when I was a little kid and I used to get the WWF magazine. And when Major League Baseball was on strike, WWF at the time kind of tried to mimic it. They had a referee strike. So
Yep.
it sounded, they did. Yes, I know that guy with 3 inches, we can't say anymore. VKM had this genius idea, quote unquote, to do a referee strike. And I think this kind of sounds like Hillbilly Tilly. You do need to get a referee. I don't know if Festus Davis, who's done some work in ROEW, CBW, XCW, would be the guy. I think he'd be a great guy to get in as a referee. I don't know if he'd travel to Alabama, but he's traveled to other places. That's a name off the list. But we can't have our champions being referees. That I'm
No,
with you on. I will say we got to get some new refs. We got to do something.
absolutely. And again, we can't have our champions getting ambushed in the back, because the only reason ADT was there today was because he had to pull double duty, because AJ Morgan gave him the heads up of, hey, I don't think referee Tristan's going to make it today. And so ADT was there to support AJ and step in that role, because Tilly has not been able to fill that
Okay,
that
so
second slot.
let's talk about that as the group. Well, we'll come back to Delta. We'll
Okay.
come back to the outside source. As a group, you guys have been so dominant. You guys have been running roughshod over the company. And this is something that has to concern you, not so much your competition, not so much your Seth Mavericks, not so much your Hacksaw Browns anymore, your Victor Thorns. Now you want referees. So shouldn't you guys as a group be using your force and ability to kind of force Tilly's hand to be able to get somebody who can actually do their job and call the match 1, 2, 3?
And you're not going to see it on the finished product that comes out on Sundays, but we do in the background. We have been pushing him to do this, because we as a group have been having to fill that empty space that referee Tristan has left us. Now, as far as I know, referee Tristan is still signed on with us, but again, he's very inconsistent, not only with his calls during during the match, but also with showing up on
Do you
time
think
or
that's
at all in general.
maybe there's an issue there with him and Tilly? Maybe there's an issue there that
It's
he needs.
possible, but again, that's not my problem. That's not ADT's problem. That's not AJ Morgan's problem. That is Tilly's
But
problem.
can't you
And
guys use your force and ability to kind of say, you know what, Tilly, we
we
run this place and
we
we
can
want
only
to.
force so much, because at the end of the day, the person that signs the paychecks is Sky Felton, and
I
Sky
understand that.
and he's been very hands off ever since he turned it over to Tilly. So it's Tilly's show to run. We can only maneuver it so much.
Would you want to speak to Felton about it?
I've tried. He's gone radio silence.
And how does that make you feel?
Disgruntled, pissed,
Wouldn't
like I
that
need a
want to
beer.
wouldn't that want to make you commit war crimes on the roster for not in what you guys are getting?
Well, obviously I haven't been around in a couple weeks.
I know that you haven't been
Uh,
on TV since New Year's Day when you were in the
it's New
ring with
Year's Day.
Hacksaw
Yep.
Brown.
So I'll let you in on a little secret. Um, I kind of went too hard into Hacksaw, and
I
I
watched the match. I watched it, and I remember it very well. You certainly laid
management
into him.
management didn't like it.
What do
So,
you mean they didn't like it?
they said that I was too hard on the young guy, too hard on the inexperienced guy, and that I needed to step back and chill out, calm down. And
What do
I'm
they
not.
mean by chilling out, though?
They don't like how. Oh, what's the best way to put it? edgy isn't exactly the right word. How
Do you have an
aggressive?
attitude? Are you having an
Yeah, how
attitude?
aggressive I can get.
Hmm.
And they try to blame my drinking on my aggressiveness, and I told them where they could shove it. And as far as I know, I'm still hired on. They suspended me, and so I'm working on making a comeback.
But
Um,
so time out for a second. So we know we haven't seen you in now officially 5 weeks. We know that you're a war criminal and you must be having to find ways to take out that pent up aggression, that rage, you might say.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, you must be going, I don't know, to local bars, picking fights. Maybe you're going to back alley somewhere or just saying, you know what, just beat somebody up. I mean, you
yeah,
must be certainly finding your ways to keep yourself ready because you always look for a fight. I mean, you're always about a fight. And I mean, you have to be doing things in order to kind of keep that motivation and that rage that's certainly pent up.
yeah, yeah. I've been going to the bar every night and fighting whoever wants it. ADT does a really good job with his open challenges, and I go into the bar and I throw out an open challenge every night, and there's always at least one person that thinks he's the
Oh
biggest,
yeah,
baddest in the room.
do you think you'll have an open challenge tonight after we get off the air? You think that you'll
Oh,
be certain
definitely,
craving that? Yeah.
definitely, yeah, yeah. Because this right here, what I'm drinking right now, this is just pregame. I still got a whole night ahead of me.
Well, it's 7:16 p.m. Eastern time. The night is still
Absolutely,
young, and by the time we're off the air, you'll have at least another good 3-4 hours. And certainly that means you can go out there and you won't even be in halftime in the evening. You'll basically be
absolutely,
all warmed up. So you're telling us that you're going to be going out there and certainly committing more crimes than anybody else who walks in that bar and doesn't like the way you play the karaoke music, doesn't like the way you look at the bar, or maybe at the pool table if you're playing pool. Maybe they don't like the way you certainly move the 8 ball, or if you're out there playing darts, or maybe you don't like, conversely, the person who picks the song in the karaoke. Maybe conversely, you don't like the person the way they play darts. Maybe conversely,
exactly.
you don't like how maybe somebody's playing pool. Maybe you're not getting your moment to play. You just go up there and just run up and beat them up, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I don't like how someone uh took my walkout music.
Hmm. But
TBW.
that's a company with three initials
Home.
there. Yeah, I heard of that company.
Hold
We
on,
cover
hold
them a
on,
lot.
hold
Yeah.
on. Home of the stolen gimmick, TBW. Not only do they rip off Heath Ledger's Joker, Ric Flair, but they're also starting to rip off the war criminal, Dylan Andrews. TBW's Beast. This is personal. Okay. I'm being told that I should take it as flattering, and I understand. It is a form of flattery, sure.
Hmm.
Beast doesn't follow me on Instagram. Beast didn't reach out to me and say, "Hey, I'm a fan, and I like the music that you use. I didn't think about using that, so I'm going to start using it. If that's cool with you, that's fine. You come to me and you talk to me, and we'll be okay." But he didn't, because all TBW does is steal gimmicks.
So are you saying that your music was stolen from you?
Oh, absolutely. Blatantly. When I debuted 6 months ago, or better yet, re-debuted, because with the original run, when I re-debuted using "Come and Get It" by I Prevail.
I know.
Because
I've
yep,
watched you in the ring. Yep, I know this song.
yep,
We were speaking about this off the air. Yep.
yep. Because that song to me sounds like they're coming for a fight. And the especially the sirens at the beginning, which we lengthened mine. I got my raid sirens to signify that I'm on my way. I'm coming, and you better find cover. And uh, 6 months ago, I debuted with that song, and uh, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was their season finale
Yeah,
about a
season
month ago.
finale. Yeah, season finale was about 4 weeks ago. Yep,
About four
four
weeks.
weeks ago.
Okay, so about a month ago, and the commissioner of all people is taking my song. Yeah, and I know he follows the main page. I have talked to Tilly, and Tilly is aware of this situation. Tilly has said that he not only follows the main page, but he also follows ADT. So there are connections for
Well, let
him to
me ask
reach
you:
out.
Does Tilly know Commissioner Beast?
I don't know if they know each other personally, but professionally, I believe they do know each other.
Well, Alabama and Tennessee, you guys are not
Pretty
far from
close,
each other.
pretty close, because we're talking North Alabama, so it's TPW has got to be within a 2 hour drive.
I was gonna say because we obviously know the nemesis James Taylor, and he's from Alabama, and I know that he's gonna be on the show next Sunday after the Super Bowl, and it's about like a 2 to 3 hour drive. I think he's actually not too far from you guys. So let me ask you this though, obviously, so he's coming out to your entrance music. What would you like to say to him live on the air?
I I would like to ask the commissioner, where does a gimmick infringement stop? Because you're like I said, you're already taking Heath Ledger's Joker, Ric Flair, a number of other professional wrestlers. Yeah, what's next? Are you going to come up with the dark pennant navy? Like, come on.
If I said to you that their response would be, hypothetically speaking, well, we were just on Barstool Sports. We have all these thousands of subscribers, and they give you the WWE type of response and say, we don't really know who you are. I mean, yeah, you got 1,000 views, but we got 5, 6, 7,000 on the show, and they're going to kind of almost, to quote unquote, run a rose colored campaign and kind of just basically kind of rose garden strategy pretty much, and just kind of ignore you guys and ignore the fact that your music and his music is the same thing. I mean, do you think that that's what they're doing, or what would you think if they were to do that?
I think that that's exactly what they're going to do, and I would love to see them get hit with a cease and desist at some point because of these gimmick infringements, because they are getting views, and more power to them. But that's going to catch up to them at some point in time.
Has anybody used the song before you came out with it?
Not that I know of. Again, I'm not very well versed in the history of backyard wrestling,
Okay.
but from what my management has told me, that they don't believe that anybody of relevance has used the song prior to me.
Okay. I mean, so look, I think that certainly I'd like to see some conclusion to it. If it's something that, I would love to see you speak with Beast, whether it maybe not even on the air, but off the air. If
Oh
that's
yeah,
something that, you guys would, want to do. I don't know if that's in his stratosphere. I know that they're in their off season right now. They return in March.
okay.
But, maybe when they come back, maybe he'll have a different song. I mean, also, if you watch season finale, he actually kind of turned a little bit on his characters. Who knows if he even maybe he comes out to that. Maybe it's a one-time deal. I mean, I would say, stay tuned, I suppose. But certainly, look, you have a point. If somebody came out to your music and you tried to reach out, Hillbilly Tilly, you said knows Commissioner Beast, and if there was something
I
there that
believe so. I believe.
okay.
I'm not for sure.
Okay, I mean, I would certainly like to see maybe something that would keep people happy. I think at the end of the day, look, TBW does a lot of work with us here on Sportswire Radio. I do a lot of work with you guys here in the AWL, and I like both products. And I certainly shooting here because there's a lot of people I've shot on the last month on Sportswire. But what I will say is that you have certainly a point. I think that people should come out to music and certainly, come out to what they want. But at the same time, if somebody wants to ask you to do something, it's common in wrestling. If somebody does a finishing move, sometimes wrestlers ask one another. So I've heard that before. But look, at the end of the day, maybe it's a one-time deal. Maybe when they come back in March, it'll be something different. But what I will tell you is the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, where your voice of all wrestling is the Reverend Tom Bryce, where all wrestling matters. I would be a complete hypocrite because we use the hashtag all wrestling matters. And if I were to pick one company over the other at this point, especially when there's two companies here that I support, I would be a total hypocrite in saying all wrestling matters. But right now, if you are on YouTube and you want to check us out, we're at Sportswire Radio 6579. We just surpassed 500 subscribers. And I know the Alliance Wrestling League is going to surpass 500 subscribers real soon. You want to support them. And we're on sportswireradio.org. If you have a podcast out there, if you have music you want to play or anything else that you like to suggest, You can do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on sportswireradio.org. We also have a Twitch account now. We're at Sportswire Radio. We're on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. We have over 700 plus followers on Facebook. Thank you very much for that. We're also on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. And we also have a Tumblr blog, and we're at Sportswire Radio there. And if you want to follow me anytime personally, I'm at Tom Bryce on Facebook. I have over 2,000 followers on Facebook on my personal account. I thank you so much for that. I'm back here tomorrow with coverage with Hybrid. The Pitbull of Colory Championship Wrestling returns to talk Fighter Strike 3 and talk about Miners Mania. He'll be here 8 o'clock British Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll also be here 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time to induct into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame the only player ever from the City University of New York to have played in the Final Four in college basketball, and also from the Brooklyn College Athletics Hall of Fame. His name is Danny Burns. Danny played in the NCAA Final Four, and he's part of the only team ever in the history of CUNY, the City University of New York, to have played in the Final Four in any college athletics. It's a real honor to have him in our Hall of Fame. I look forward to people checking that out. If you want to see some history, that'll be here at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be back here Tuesday as well with a guy, Dane Johnson. Dane Johnson actually climbed up, I believe it was Mount Everest. He was in Antarctica. He's had a really interesting journey, and we're going to talk about that with him here 4 o'clock Eastern Time. He's been a marathon runner to the New York City Marathons, and also I'm going to be here at 11 o'clock Eastern Time to induct into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame from DKW, Dark Cryptic Wrestling. It'll be Dark Cron and Matthew Forsaken, and also ADT takes his place in history here February the 23rd. He joins us here in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Our ADT, who of course is the AWL World Heavyweight Champion in the past, and now he's the current New Division Champion, and he's going to be here to talk whatever's on his mind, also take his place in history in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and he has put it out there. The initials, they may say Backyard Wrestling is BYAW. He wants it to be changed to ADT. So certainly he's on his way to proving that. But in the meantime, we're here with the war criminal, Dylan Andrews. I have many, many comments here. Also, let's come back to a few people. First of all, ADT wants to say, imagine having to go to 27 companies to get over. He's talking about Jack Delta, but
Oh, of course he is.
But he's still won a lot of championships, though. I mean, some would say he's won 28 championships, though. I mean, you can't argue with that.
28 championships and 27 different companies. That's not exactly dominance in our eyes.
So your eyes of dominance would be somebody who's state champion. Is that what you would say would be your
champions that stay champions, or champions that run a company and completely take over that company because of the amount of championships they won in that company. He's gone to 20, 27, 28, 29 different companies, and he's won one championship in each one. And that's not dominance. That's going and reaching the top and not staying at the top. He just moves on to the next.
If I were to say to you, though, that, and this is one person's take, not mine necessarily, but people in general would say, well, he goes to companies to try to help grow that company or help build their following. What would you say to something like that?
If he really wanted to help, he would stay and see the progress through.
I mean, he's been an ROEW for a while. I mean, some would say that, they have the shiny object there, and, they got a lot of eyeballs.
And they really need the help because they have an injury problem. They have an injury bug in the room. An injury bug and a retirement bug, which Jack Delta has been a part of. So, I mean, who's to say that he's already backed out of a proposed match with ADT? He doesn't want a piece of ADT.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think?
Oh, he's scared. He's scared. Just like my brother ADT always says, the self-destructive Jack Delta. He
Now, you could make the point, let's look at it objectively speaking. So ADT is a man that's, had a weightlifting background. He's also been somebody that's gone out there and done real wrestling in terms of amateur wrestling. So we had made the point when ADT was here, Jack Delta had his own opinion, but ADT, when he was here, let's give his side of the story and tell me what you think. ADT had felt, well, Tom, Jack Delta's never faced somebody like me with my background in terms of, powerlifting, in terms of amateur wrestling. And basically, I've been, since I'm a little boy, that this sport's really been what I've to excelled at. Jack Delta, sure, he's been in there with Eric Mason. Sure, he's been in there with some big time talents, but he hasn't been in there with a guy like me. Now, hearing that, ADT firsthand. What's your thoughts on that?
He has not been in the ring with a guy like ADT. And ADT's got a very good point. I think Jack's scared, Jack should be scared. But for him to blatantly back out of a match with ADT it's ridiculous. It's again he's a specific 5-letter P word, and it shows. It shows because he will not step up to the challenge of ADT. And I'll give Jason Storm credit where credit is due. He did step up to ADT, and even though he was dirty in his attack, he still showed cojones to step to the.
But could I even make the argument? CJ Black just beat Jack Delta, right? CJ Black beat him at the same time you guys were on the air, right?
Yep.
And also on top of that, Jack Delta lost the New Age Championship. So if ADT is supposed to be the BYW, he's the ADT.
Yeah.
Wouldn't then ADT not really need to go up against Jack Delta if ADT doesn't have anything to prove? If those guys beat him, I mean,
it's not that ADT has to prove anything. He doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. It's the fact that Jack Delta likes to pride himself as the best in the business, and he doesn't want to step to the actual best. He doesn't want an actual challenge. He wants to try to go to these fledgling companies and go against guys that have only been doing it for 2 or 3 months and call himself the best. That's not the best. Yeah, he's had a couple matches with some more
WCEF, I think been in. He's been in ESF, I think EBW. He's been in some places. I mean, there have been big places he's gone to. XCW is certainly a very respectable company. XCW, and I want to say a little Justin
just to give ADT the credit.
Absolutely.
He has completely scared off Jack Delta. Jack Delta is scared. No getting around that. He is completely pulled out of the planned crossover, the second show with REW. He's completely pulled out.
So what do you think? So in your opinion, do you think there's any way that could be worked out? Do you think that Tilly could maybe talk to the REW management? Is there any way? Because, I got to be honest with you, as a fan, right, and somebody that covers this, we say all wrestling matters. I would love to see ADT and Jack Delta wrestle. Are you kidding?
I love
everybody ADT in the ring.
Everybody would love to see ADT wipe the floor with Jack Delta. Absolutely.
Well, people would love to see who would win. Sure. I think if we want to say
ADT.
Well, if ADT is the best, then yeah, I think that naturally I would love to see Jack Delta and ADT would go out there and have a match. Are you kidding? That would be a match that would make a lot of money. That would be a match that would get a lot of engagement, get a lot of followers. That would get a lot of people talking. I think there's absolutely 1,000% no doubt that ADT would love. I think Jack Delta and ADT would be a match I would love to see. I would love to see it happen. If there's any way I could make it happen, I would do that. But I got a lot of comments here, so I want to get people to get your toes. People are now getting fired up. ADT wants to say TBW big brothering us is wild, Tom. Josh Allen deleted all the paper trails of mine, his interactions on Twitter from 2017. They know who we are. Well, that's interesting. Well, I'll tell you what, if there's paper trails and you have something like that, I'm always a believer in being upfront, always being transparent. So, you know what? I certainly, I'm with you on that. If you have something that wants, prove or some type of showing it, believe me, I'm always, a believer in, transparency. Anybody that knows me, I've always been a transparent individual. So you definitely, may have a point. I want to say hello to Omen Black, the boogeyman of the Midwest, the hardcore god. He says, welcome to my show, because obviously the Running Lions Sportswire is his show. He's in our Hall of Fame as well. He was here with us last night with the resident rock star, Sean Jovi. He's going to be in the ring in a 400-seat venue coming up here 13 days from now, defending his hardcore championship against Damian Saint. And we say hi to Omen as well. And also, I want to say hello to Mr. ADT again. For a man who always says quality over quantity, it's very backwards for Mr. Self-Destructive. I want to say hello, by the way, to a company, as I pointed out, XCW. Very, very good company. XCW, the gold standard in this sport. They're in Shelbyville, Indiana. Check them out. XC Wrestling One on YouTube. That's a company, by the way, that knows how to run a company. And also, they're the true story to me of an American success story and an American dream. Small business 20 years ago started by Josh Fletcher going into their 21st season. Our third member of the Hall of Fame, one half of their tag team champions, Mr. Justin Parsley. Good evening from the first healing herb and the only real wrestler. Okay, fair enough. And he says, oh no, to Omen Black. It means Omen.
Yeah.
Also here, Hillbilly says, what seems that TBW is making some questionable decisions when it comes to etiquette within the BYW community. James Taylor, he would probably agree. Okay, let me ask you guys a question on James Taylor. He's coming on the show side. Now, he's from Alabama. I mean, wouldn't a suitable replacement for Jack Delta be James Taylor on ADT? I have James coming on next Sunday. He doesn't live too far from you guys. I mean, wouldn't that be a suitable replacement with his following? I mean, with his YouTube and TikTok base? I mean, I'd like to see that match. I mean, what about that?
If Tilly can make it happen, and if James Taylor isn't a 5-letter P word, then yeah, absolutely.
I don't think James Taylor. I know James Taylor. I can tell. Listen, and I like Jack Delta. I will say I speak to Jack very frequently, and we named a day after him. So I would be a total hypocrite, and I would be a total liar, and I don't want to be a liar. I'm very transparent that I said I didn't like Jack Delta. I like Jack Delta a lot, and I've spoke to the man off the air. I always go with people by their word, but I will tell you this. I hope it works out with Jack Delta and ADT. I want to see the match. But when it comes to James Taylor in ADT, I know James Taylor. I've spoke to him many, many, many times on the phone. And James Taylor's from Alabama. Hello? That's a match. You might get more engagements, more followers than that because just of the natural ability. And it's hometown guys.
Yeah.
Who's the best of Alabama? I think that's a match, Tilly, that I could certainly talk about with James Taylor. I'll make Mr. Taylor known about this after we're off the air, and I guarantee you we'll talk about this right after the Super Bowl next Sunday. So if we can make James Taylor and ADT happen, that might be a better match.
It might be. Because, that cuts out any need of having to travel. I don't know if that's Jack Delta's problem, the issue with traveling, but I know he's traveled down to Tennessee before, and it's not that much further of a drive. So I don't think the traveling aspect is the problem for Jack. I have my my opinions on Jack Delta, and I don't think he is as brave as everybody makes him out to be. He's not that good. Now, James Taylor would be a great matchup for ADT, and I would love to see that. And I think ADT would wipe the floor with James. Yeah, that's just bottom line.
But I think a lot of people would want to hear. Listen, we just had on Cameron Cage, who wrestled him in Resurrection Wrestling when they were in a venue there in Memphis, Tennessee, and that was a great match. And James Taylor went up with a guy in Cameron Cage, kind of similar a little bit to ADT, and that's a match I think that would certainly a lot of people of Sportswire's ilk would love to see. And also, oh, by the way, 2 Hall of Famers in the ring with each other. I mean, talk about that publicity. And listen, I would love to have both guys on at the same time talking about the match. So to me, ADT and James Taylor, I would love to see that match happen. I think a lot of people will love to see that happen, irregardless of what happens with you guys in TBW and your music, or irregardless of what happens with Jack Delta. I would think, to me, hometown guys, who's the best of Alabama? I mean, who's the best maybe in terms of pound for pound, maybe in the sport, and just the overall engagements that would get. And 2 Hall of Famers, who's the better Sportswire Hall of Famer? I think James Taylor and ADT would be a suitable replacement. So to me,
absolutely,
I'm very happy to promote that and talk about that. We'll definitely take that any day of the week. Justin Parsley, Omen Black certainly has his sights on.
There's not many things that me and Omen Black agree on. But I can agree with that. Imagine being from Indiana.
What don't you like about Indiana? I'm curious. They got some good food there. Kendall's Tavern. Big shout out to them. XCW, the mothership, I think, of this sport. And India. Have you been to Indiana? I know the Colts. I know the Colts weren't that good this year. They were certainly worse last year. I'll give you that much. And the Pacers seem to be on their way choking another season once again. So I mean, if you're going on the sports points, okay, fair enough. In Purdue, does anybody buy Purdue in college basketball? I don't know about that, but okay, all right. Well, we'll have to see. And he calls him the Booger Man of the Midwest. That's kind of a funny line, the Booger Man. And Justin Parsley wants to remind people he's actually from L.A. via Indiana, and that's
Oh,
why he looks
even
different.
worse. Even worse.
One of my buddies went to L.A. though. My longtime buddy Jacob Barr, one of my longest supporters, lived in L.A. for a brief period, so I can't knock L.A. too much, but whatever.
I can.
I'm from New York, and people certainly want to knock New York all the time, so I want to be very much pleading the fifth on that. You misplaced a couple of letters. I guess I got lazy. Oh, by the way, here's a good one. I like James Taylor. Never say never.
All right, Tilly, get to work on it, dude.
All right, let me ask you this question. Obviously,
Okay.
I got the outside stuff in, but I want to ask you in terms of, as I ask everybody this question, I know we haven't seen you on TV in a little while, and I want people to follow the Alliance Wrestling League here. Very simple. You can do it right here through the link that I've created. But what are your goals for 2024, the war criminal Dylan Andrews?
My goal is to rain terror on anyone that gets in that gets within my line of sight. I've already taken care of Hacksaw. Unfortunately, he is still walking. Don't know how in the hell that's. I don't know if
Because you didn't finish the job, some would say.
Tom, don't say that to me. Don't you dare say that to me.
It's a fighting kind of night on
No, Tom. We're supposed to be cool. Don't you dare say that to me. But I will finish that job sooner rather than later. But my goal is to rain hell on this entire locker room, and that's with my brothers by my side. And we are going to we've already been in the process of doing that, and we're going to continue to do that all the way through to New Year's Evolution once again.
Let me ask you this question and tell me your thoughts on this. And you have these guys come in. I spoke about it with ADT. I want to ask your take. You must have further incentives to have these pro wrestling guys who were brought in here to really knock the Black Flag Army down a notch. And I would have to think that these outsiders who want to come into your company and want to invade and further on top of that want to take over your spots, I would have to think that you guys, and especially you, because you're a war criminal who loves to fight, and you're going to be fighting probably in about 45 minutes from now at some bar anywhere in the state of, especially North Alabama, that you guys got further incentives to knock these outsiders and knock them so far that even if a Delta wants to come here, even if a Storm wants to come in, maybe even if a CJ Black decides to come and visit his cousin or anybody else from any outside places, that you want to send a message that no outsider could come here because only the true originals and an original like Dylan Andrews alongside the Black Flag Army are here to play in our bandbox they call the Alliance Wrestling League.
Yeah, and AJ has definitely he's kind of spearheaded that with taking on Victor Thorne. Geez, look at the size of Cobalt. What kind of threat?
Oh my God, we spoke about him with ADT. I mean,
what kind of threat is he? ADT was able to toss him around like a rag doll, like a Raggedy Ann. He was able to toss him around. He's not a threat. Victor Thorne, now he's a bigger guy and he's very agile for his size. I'll give credit where credit's due.
And the Seth Maverick and his background, his fighting background, his big TikTok
I ain't worried about
following.
Seth Maverick.
No, not worried about him.
No, I'm not worried about the TikTok star. The Zack Ryder of AWL. I'm not worried about him. No.
Hey, be careful there. Zack Ryder wants his shot at now Mick Foley in his final death match. Just want to make that clear.
And that's Matt Cardona. That's it's different. He made himself over. Now, if
okay, all right, touche.
If oh fuck, what was his name?
Seth Maverick. We're talking about
Maverick. That's right.
Yep, you forgot him. Huh? Selective amnesia. No, I don't think that was selective amnesia. You really didn't know much about him.
I barely know him. Yeah,
not much success there in AWL, even though he felt like he had a fair shot at that new division title. But I'll let you go.
I know ADT has had a couple run-ins with him, but No, he's no threat. I mean, hell, look at what Travis Hunt was able to do
Yep.
against Seth Maverick on numerous occasions. Seth Maverick has not been able to overcome Travis Hunt, and I like Travis Hunt. He's a good person to have in the locker room. Um, Now I don't like that he's challenging AJ in the way that he has been. Um, but he's a good competitor, and he's he definitely brings the fight, and that's one person I would love to have a crack at. Now, I not saying that it's ever going to happen, but again, like Tilly said, never say never.
Let me ask you a question. We're here at the War Criminal, Dylan Andrews. You can follow him on Instagram at the underscore original underscore Dylan Andrews. You can also follow the AWL on YouTube. Their most recent show was just on the air about 5 or so hours ago. You can check that out on Alliance Wrestling League. They have over 345 subscribers. They're on Instagram, Alliance underscore wrestling underscore league. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling. Now, let me ask you this question. We have a show coming up, our first ever live one in the month of March called Gold Rush. And this is where we're going to see eyes like we've never seen before on the Alliance Wrestling League. And what does that mean to you? To the company now has this big event. And personally, what could it mean to you in your career in the Alliance Wrestling League, the original Dylan Andrews, our war criminal?
So, for as far as my reign of terror on the locker room, people get to finally see it live. And they don't get the watered down YouTube version. They get to see everything. And I think that's going to further cause fear, uh, strike fear in the hearts of anybody that would want to step in my direction. As far as the company, it's yet to be seen, but I believe uh, it's going to be the catalyst for more live shows.
I would even say that you don't necessarily need guys like Jack Delta. You don't
No,
need ROEW. You know what? Sure, we spoke earlier and you talked about the fact, yeah, they got the shiny object. Yeah, maybe they're getting more eyeballs, quote unquote, seen in the world. But the facts are, you know what? You guys got a pretty good product. You
yeah,
guys got some great talent. You AJ Morgan, your brother is basically a pro wrestler. He's in the process
absolutely.
of that.
The
ADT's background. I mean, we know his
the
background.
transformation that AJ Morgan has gone through is insane, and I want to say that ADT and I have had a hand in that, um, because we picked on him a little bit.
Oh, you guys had some. You came on
We
here and
we
interrupted him when we were on.
picked on him a
You
little
interrupted.
bit.
Yeah, you can't. We had him on here and you interrupted him. You were
We
calling him out. I mean, ADT
Yeah.
had his issues about him. I mean, I remember. So he's kind of
So
maybe seen the light.
so and I know some people have a problem with us bringing him into our group. What me and ADT were doing to him, we were challenging him to better himself so he can be a part of what we made. We saw the potential and we needed to build him from the ground up, and I believe that's what we've done. I mean, obviously, he's become the AWL heavyweight champion. He's done a great.
And he's been one of the more fighting champions in this sport. I
Absolutely,
mean,
yeah,
guys defend their titles every 6 months, 3 months. He's defended it like every other week. I mean, you got
yeah,
to give him that.
yeah, and having him and ADT spearhead the I like to call it the revolution of AWL because we have completely taken over. Um, but to have those two spearhead the movement and be the two top guys, it has been. I could not be more proud of my two brothers in Black Flag Army.
I definitely am not going to disagree with that. And that's why I want people to go watch the product and find out for yourself why this company is going a lot of places. And I said it months ago and I'll say it again. This is a company that I support strongly, and I hope you join me in supporting them. They have certainly got a nice following. There's going to be an even bigger following, and I think that come the month of March, there's going to be even more eyeballs on them, and it's certainly because of the work that the company has put in, like Hillbilly Tilly, like obviously everybody else in the company, ADT, Dylan Andrews, AJ Morgan, even guys like Tyson Gates, Christopher James, the people that have been there, they're doing a great job. Let's support those that go out there and put their bodies on the line. It's all wrestling matters here, and that's what we're here for on Sportswire Radio. Yes, Jules, nobody will knock New York, but if somebody does, I'm sure they'll certainly let you know, Jules. But Jules, your boyfriend, Omen Black, is here, and obviously you can certainly say hello to him, and certainly not hello to me, but obviously you like him big, you like him hardcore, you like him rough, and that's why Omen's here, and it's his show. I'm only kidding. Really, who are going back and forth with Justin Parsley. Also, Justin wants to say Leap Day comes once every 4 years. Episode 11 on Encounters comes February 29th. A once-in-a-lifetime date deserves a once-in-a-lifetime rematch. A dish best served hot. Keep your show focused on Dylan. He likes the show. And respect without giving it Omen. Did you pick Booger Man of the Midwest? Yeah, I remember as a kid, I think it was my parents used to always say, "Don't be a booger son" or something like that about picking my nose. Or was up. I always remember like that. I remember like, okay, all right, I'm not gonna pick my nose ever after that. It was like for whatever reason, I don't know if that's Omen's deal, but also let me come back to Hillbilly Tilly. Not to take any spotlight from Mr. Andrews, I want to acknowledge how AJ. Yes, I absolutely agree on that. You need to check that out on the AWL YouTube page. Put on a great match today despite the frigid weather conditions. Yes, and I want to point out because the weather, I know here in New York, it's like in the 40s, but over where you guys have been, I was listening to Jeff Jarrett's podcast with Conrad Thompson. Conrad's from Alabama. Double J is from Tennessee. And you guys have been dealing with some like really frigid temperatures right now. So it's terrible.
We've been having a lot of hard freezes.
I heard, yes. I listened to them talk about that on the podcast in the last couple of like, wow. We're here in New York, and it's like you guys have had our weather actually.
Yeah, and especially where the show takes place. We're kind of in a valley, so it gets even colder.
I noticed that on the show where you guys are, you're like surrounded. It's like you're not near anything almost. It's like inland.
It's almost like a bowl. Like there's a range of mountains that kind of encircle us, and it gets really cold really quick. A lot of tree coverage, so the shade isn't exactly our best friend in the winter. It's doesn't do enough in the summer.
I didn't realize this until getting to like cover your company and even covering like TBW over the past like 9 or 10 months. I always used to assume, Alabama, Tennessee, it was like 50, 60 degrees in the winter. And I realized, even speaking with James Taylor off the air, no, you guys get like really cold weather like it is in New York. I was like, I didn't realize that before. I was like, I just went, okay, it's like Texas, where Texas is usually warm. But no, you guys get like really frigid conditions. I didn't know that.
Yeah. We, now it doesn't last as long as it does in more northern states.
Like New York, sure.
But yeah, like New York. But it does get, I wouldn't say really cold. It doesn't normally get below zero, but it hovers.
Thank God for that.
It hovers around in the teens.
Okay. Teams for us is like minus 20 degrees, like where Omen is and Justin Parsley is, and I would into that because like we had about 2 weeks ago, it was like 15 degrees in the morning, and I'm like, I'm a newspaper carrier overnight, and I'm like in like hand warmers, toe warmers, I got two pairs of gloves on, and that's that. But
when I was in the Middle East, the weather over there, especially where I was at, on average, you'd see whenever the sun goes down, it'd be 95 degrees, and that was cold. And
oh wow!
And so living in the States after I got released from Leavenworth, it's insane how cold it feels. It's crazy.
I've learned that I really don't like the cold anymore. I used to always be, I also love the cold. When I remember growing up and it was like, we're going to play tackle football on the ground. It's going to be great. The snow. Now, I've been the last like 5 years, I got to be honest, I just want to be in like warmer weather at this point. So those are, things that there are. But obviously, we want to give a big shout out to everybody in AWL. And I want to say hello to my guys going to be in the Hall of Fame on Tuesday from Dark Cryptic Wrestling, Mr. Cron himself, Mr. Dark Cron, and obviously his brother, Matthew Forsaken. He says hello to you, and they're in Ohio, so obviously saying hello. And Craven Rage is here. Craven Rage, who was the once Backyard Nightmare, one-time ruler of the yard. And thank you very much. I appreciate your support. I'll definitely see you, I believe, next Friday on the air. I have a fun question for you. I know we talked a lot about TBW and the music and Jack Delta, whether he comes or not, and RWW. But let me ask you a fun question. I was thinking about making this the first of the cover of the week. We're going to the Super Bowl. And who do you got this year in the Super Bowl? You got the Chiefs or you got the 49ers?
Realistic answer, the Chiefs. The answer coming from my heart, the 49ers.
The 49ers, right?
Yeah, I hate.
Yeah, you're sick of this Taylor and Travis thing, huh?
Oh, yeah.
You don't look like
really
a Taylor
annoying.
fan to me. You're not a Taylor fan to me. I could definitely see that.
It's not even Taylor and Travis. My main problem is the Mahomes family. I don't mind Patrick. He's a great player. It's the Mahomes family. I don't know if you saw, but
I did see. I saw.
Yeah, a couple hours ago, Mahomes Senior with another DWI. Yeah, so they're just Brittany Mahomes. I can't.
Oh my God, Taylor and Brittany like every 15 seconds in a photo. Now the mother on Instagram, she appeared on my timeline. I'm like, what else is it? Then I think he was the brother got in trouble also, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't the brother get in trouble?
The brother got in trouble for sexual harassment.
Wasn't he like in jail or gonna go to jail? If I'm not, I was hearing that somewhere on a podcast.
Patrick's money bailed his ass out. That's
I think he owns a stake of the Kansas City Royals. Even I heard
he does. Yeah. I mean, and again, more power to Patrick. He's definitely earned his money, but his family is just a disgrace, and I don't want to see that family get any more publicity than what they already have.
Yeah, I mean, I think dynasties or teams that win, there's always that. I'm from New York, so and I'm not a Yankees fan, so every team I've rooted for in my life has never won a championship. So let me put it out there. I'm a Mets fan in baseball. I'm an Islanders fan in hockey, football. I've quote unquote rooted for the Jets and Giants because they don't play in New York, but I've rooted for those teams. And the facts are all the teams I've rooted for in my life have never won a championship. So I always look at teams like the Chiefs, teams like the Patriots in football, where like to me, I would hate to front run. I would like kind of root for those teams to lose. So in a way, I do want the 49ers to win, although the 49ers, they've won 5 Super Bowls and they've been here a lot. They've actually statistically been in the most championship games of any of the teams here. But I do want to say that, yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes Sr., I actually remember him as a kid. He pitched for the New York Mets, and he was actually 8-0 one year, but he was always kind of like really a journeyman pitcher. But I'm rooting for the 49ers. I am sick of seeing Taylor on TV every 15 seconds.
I like the story.
I'm sick of it.
I like the story of Brock Purdy.
Oh my God!
If you're looking for an underdog to root for, that's the underdog right there.
Well, I like McCaffrey. I mean, I like their team. Yeah, I like Deebo Samuel.
I like George Kittle. I like.
Oh yeah, big wrestling fan, by the way. Huge
big wrestling fan. Absolutely,
huge wrestling fan.
I love that he always knows where the camera's at. And,
yes.
And he plays to the camera, and I love it.
He was with when I think Bailey went on to the 49ers stadium. She gave him the belt or something like that. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, I could definitely agree with him. Okay, so enough about that. Before I get to closing thoughts here, beginning years of the IMF, we were out there wrestling in negative 10 degrees. Be different, built different. Yeah, I know. Listen, I remember that. I remember you guys were on the Nemesis sessions right around this time last year with James Taylor. No. Listen, I give full credit to the IMF. I give full credit to everybody out there like the AWL that's out there, going out there and not having an off season. I will definitely be back. Omen, our brother, Craven. Yeah, I told you, Omen, you need to not focus on Craven Rage. Focus on guys like Jimmy Controversy, Mikey Anarchy, who are in places like GTS, Pro Wrestling Venom, XPW. I told you that yesterday on the show. I don't know why you want me to have tissues soon. Is it because I'm rooting for the 49ers? Yeah, I'm rooting for the 49ers because I'm sick and tired of seeing Taylor Swift. I got to be honest, I am sick of it. I got to be honest, I am sick and tired of seeing Taylor Swift every 40 seconds on my TV screen. I'm not taking away from her talent, but I am tired of it. I am certainly tired of seeing her on there. I'm tired of Kelsey, and you know what? That's just what I think. Craven, you shouldn't look past. I don't know. Okay, I'm being addressed. Why am I being addressed? I hope it's because I said something that you agree with, but I'm no Swiftie. No, I am not a Swiftie. In fact, I'm gonna do a pipe bomb here real quick before we get to closing thoughts. I'm gonna do a pipe bomb. I was listening to the artist formerly known as Mandy Rose, who has a podcast with her fiance, who played in the NFL, by the way, who was a wrestler, by the way, and she actually said, by the way, this is not my opinion. She actually said that the relationship between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce is contrived. It's a contrived relationship because, in her words, she actually said, again, not my opinion, but I heard her on the podcast say this. She was saying that Travis Kelce is this big NFL star. He can get all the women he wants. Why would he pick Taylor Swift? She was like, come on. Yeah, she's pretty. But is she really pretty compared to like all the NFL wags they could get? That's her opinion. That's just what she's saying. And at the end of the day, it's all about public social media engagement. It's all about, getting publicity, getting good press out. Again, not my opinion. That's what she was saying. And, she pretty much knows because she's one of the, I don't know, most well-downloaded women, if that's such a thing out there in the world. And, her assets certainly speak for themselves, but that's her opinion.
I think there might be several other women that are more downloaded.
Right, but
if you know where to look.
But certainly Taylor Swift's very low on the totem pole compared to like a Mandy Rose. Pretty fair to say, right? Pretty fair to say, though, that, pretty low down the totem pole. I'm not saying she's ugly. I'm just saying she's like pretty. Like if I'm Travis Kelce, right, and I've got millions of dollars, I'm just saying I'm sure I could get, somebody else. That's all. But that's what she's saying. That's all. Oh, see, I did a pipe bomb for you. I
like it. I like it.
Yeah, we've had an attitude here, Sportswire. Jules wants to say, I actually am not a Swiftie. I'm not a fan at all. I don't listen to her. I mean, I know her music because it's all in front of us, but I'm not a fan. Okay, you know what? Enough about that. Before I get to closing thoughts, is there anything else that you want to say or anybody else you want to address when it comes to AWL or anything else on your mind before we sign off?
Put me on the spot here, so
I try to make it interesting. I try to make it informative and fun on Sportswire. You've been on here before, but you know that you've been here like 3 times. This is your 4th appearance.
I mean, just whoever Tilly books me to, whenever Tilly books me again, whoever it's against, don't show up. Be a Jason Storm, be a Jack Delta, back out.
Maybe they could go and watch Taylor on tour. Maybe they can go and,
if they can afford it. Scott Felton's pockets are not that deep, but that is. I'm only here to give advice to people.
It might be cheaper than the
insurance. My advice is to just back out.
Back out, basically forfeit, just quit, not even bother, not even showing up.
Don't even show up.
Yeah. Maybe it would be cheaper if Sky Felton bought that person a one-way ticket to wherever they may go, or maybe it even would them to go to a Taylor Swift show. Maybe that's what I learned. So you know what? Maybe you shouldn't have suitable conferences. Maybe you just sit out and go in a little while from now and go fight in Alabama and go beat some people up and have a couple of cold ones.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? I think I learned a lot tonight. I want people to follow the War Criminal Dylan Andrew and the Alliance Wrestling League here at all these platforms. And Jules wants to say that I talk about Taylor Swift way too much not to be a Swiftie. No, I'm gonna quote unquote. I'm gonna use the veteran term here. I'm gonna Swift boat this. I'm gonna actually quote unquote Swift boat veteran this here to quote a 2004 election upon a time ago. In that Taylor Swift and the Swifties eventually, kind of like trends, they'll come and go. And eventually, like every other fad that's out there, people will get sick of Taylor Swift. They will get sick of the Swifties. And in a few years from now, they'll move on to something else. And eventually, one way or another, the Kansas City Chiefs, whether it's going to be next Sunday or a Sunday down the road, will certainly get their comings to them. And Justin Parsley, this is why he's in my Hall of Fame. He agrees with me. Yeah, honestly, I don't see the fascination when it comes to just everything about her and Kelly. No, the NFL's loving it. The NFL's loving it. But I know one thing, Taylor Swift, please don't come to WWE. Please don't come to AWL. Hellbilly Tilly, put whatever you do, don't book Taylor Swift. Don't book her to come into the Alliance Wrestling League. I can assure you that would be not the best thing for business. Maybe ROEW could afford it. Maybe they could do it. Maybe TBW could do because they were on Barstool. But at the end of the day, I would not want to see Taylor Swift and the Alliance Wrestling League show up. And yeah, I'm not fascinated with it at all. I don't see it. Like, I'm going with what Mandy Rose said in terms of how I would see things. But you know what? Listen, God bless him at the end of the day. And by the way, Omen Black does want to say that Justin looks like a Swiftie and Swift herself. That's why I want to punch Justin in the face. Jules says Alabama. Yeah, I think Jules has been to Alabama. You know, Jules, by the way, I hear from a grapevine through a birdie that she's actually lived in Alabama, and maybe she would want to watch you guys in the ring. Maybe she would want to watch the Alliance Wrestling League. Maybe Jules want to go out there because she's had some experience living in the state of Alabama. She's worked in the state of Alabama. Maybe she would want to join and become fans of the Black Flag Army. Maybe she can be your Swiftie instead. Maybe she can be your Taylor. Maybe if you want to be her Travis, well, Omen's already that, so you basically got to figure out about that. But she even says she's been to Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa. Okay. Yeah,
how far are you guys from Tuscaloosa?
About 2 hours, give or take.
Oh, not bad at all. She said
Roll Tide.
She's a Roll Tide fan. What a small world. Well, I hope hopefully the new coach will do just as good a job as the old one. And yeah. He says Roll Tide also.
Roll Tide, Roll Tide.
I actually kind of always liked Alabama, by the way. I have to say, I always did kind of root for Alabama. Like, Georgia, I hated when Georgia won the national title last year, by the way. I do want to say that I really did not like with Georgia winning the national title.
I didn't like Michigan winning the national championship.
I hated Michigan winning the title because now Michigan, Harbaugh, so predictable, went to the Chargers. So yeah, Harbaugh. Yeah. Although I want to say one more thing before we close off. If you have a chance, you want to laugh. Jim Harbaugh was actually on an episode of Saved by the Bell. You want to laugh? Yeah, it popped on my timeline. Yes, I have no life, but you have to say that go and check out Jim Harbaugh on Saved by the Bell. Turned out on the episode, he made a cameo and he was Screech's cousin. So yes, I have no life, and definitely check out. All you do, put a search Jim Harbaugh Saved by the Bell. I promise you'll laugh, and you'll laugh at his hair look because he looks totally different. But here nor there, thank you everybody for tuning in. Also, if you're on one more time here on Sportswire Radio, please support the Alliance Wrestling League. You can do that here on Alliance Wrestling League on YouTube, Instagram, Alliance_Wrestling_League. Dylan Andrews, the _original Dylan Andrews. I'll be back here tomorrow twice. My friend, this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Go out to the bar. Go do some drinking. The night is still young. Go kick some butt. I hope to see you hopefully one day in the ring. We'll see what happens with your entrance music. We'll see what happens with ROEW. Will Storm retire or unretire? I don't know. What happens with Delta? I hope for the best, but I promise you one thing before we sign off. James Taylor's here next Sunday to be inducted into our Hall of Fame. I'm going to ask him that question about maybe staying home in the state of Alabama.
I'm going to tune in. I'm going to tune in. I'm going to check it out.
That one I'm going to ask because I think that's a good one where he might actually say, you know what? That's a company I might actually be in. So stay tuned for all of that.
All right.
And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. And I want to wish a happy birthday to Justin Parsley's beautiful other half, Amanda, who's been a part of XCW. Happy belated birthday once again to you, Amanda. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for lending your other half, Justin Parsley, to our shows here on Sportswire Radio and in the ring. Until then, also, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. I'll see everybody tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening on the number one global radio station.